Good evening, everybody. All right, the good sign we got today was the fact that Friday, when it closed as a doji right on the T-line in the Dow, we had a good idea of which way they were going to take it based upon how they opened today. And the fact that they did a doji gap up was a good indication that now we've got a best friend pattern setting up a J-hook pattern, which implies we've got more upside. Now the NASDAQ today was kind of the weak sister. It didn't show as much enthusiasm. However, it's still above the T-line. And the S&P, same scenario. It gapped up away from the T-line, setting up for a J-hook pattern. And the transportation index, if I can do this correctly, kind of pretty much right here at the breakout area, but you can see the J-hook pattern setting up. All right, had a few good movers. Soybeans, as you can see, gapped up tremendously today. Again, a best friend type signal. It was up huge, like 24 cents. Would imply or anticipate they're heading for the 50-day moving average. Crude oil, you can see, is still in the steady uptrend, making the oil stocks, which we'll get to, still acting well. Gold, however, still very indecisive. But this is where you get ready, because we can see what's happening right now. Down here toward the oversold area, doji, 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 doji. Getting ready for that pop to the upside. If you start seeing gold break out, you can start buying it with some enthusiasm, which would also make the gold stocks pick up a little bit of strength. Trying to think what else. Was trading cattle today. It was up nicely. Based upon the reason we went long cattle is look at the trend kicker, implying there was more upside. And lean hogs, you can see what the trend is. You can see what it would do every time it hit the 50. Bearish engulfing, bearish engulfing. The implication should be that if it trades lower, here's your first target, here's your second target. But here's what you have to kind of watch as far as other technical analysis. Look where it closed today, right smack dab on this support level. So that makes it important to see how they open this tomorrow. If they open it positive, tells you this wedge formation is still in progress. But the implication should be that if they open it lower, they're breaking through this level, the bottom of the wedge, stochastics heading down after bearish signals, and notice where they opened today, right smack dab on the T-line. That reminds me, I'm supposed to mention again, in 2 weeks or so, we're going to be doing the Triple T training on June 2nd and 3rd. And we're going to go through all the aspects of how you use the T-line that enhances the prospects of being in the right position at the right time on any of your trades. All right, let's take a look now at some of the positions that we've got on. We recommended I over the last few days because there's your long-legged doji, bullish confirmation, and then a breakout through this level. So this makes it very simple. You just stay long until you see a sell signal. We started buying square today because of the belt hold type signal right here, and then they gap it up, kind of giving you the impression that a J-hook pattern is in progress. So again, putting the probabilities in your favor that things are moving in a bullish. We also recommended DSKE. Look at your bobble breakout. It did a doji today, but now what is your trading perspective? Well, if this opens positive tomorrow, what type of pattern do we have setting up? A doji sandwich. So we'd have a bobble breakout and a doji sandwich telling us this whole area is not acting as resistance. That gives you much higher probabilities that there's going to be the next wave to the upside, which in this case, if this is wave 1, wave 3 should come up here and test this little level. We also recommended Zen. So Zen opened positive. So there's two aspects to looking at this one. One, since we were sitting here watching it, and it opened positive, and then started backing off, it really didn't give us a lot of energy to the upside, maybe a tick or two, before backing off. That would have told us, let's hold off a little bit until we see more strength. Or, if it opened here, traded back down here, when it came back up through that open, we could be a buyer. Why is that? Because number one, we are anticipating that it should be moving in this direction. And two, if they sold it off and then came back up through that level, what's the newest sentiment? You can tell the bulls were there. On the other hand, and some people were saying, well, why do you have a buy stop, or how do you calculate your buy stop? Kind of look to see, and this is more oriented toward the person that can't be there on the open but want to get into a bullish trade. But if it opens, that would be confirming this J-hook pattern. So the risk reward is that if we're sitting here and we're seeing that it opened and then backed off, we may not get into a trade. If you have to head for work or you're not around at the open and you got into the trade, now you use your next calculation. It pulled back, so what's your next strategy? It should open positive and trade positive. We definitely don't want to see a trade back below the T-line, because if it did that, what would it say about our J-hook trajectory? It disappeared. You want to be back out of that trade. So everything that we look at as far as a trade setup should have expectations of which way it should be going. Again, notice our recommendation on NVTA. When it opened positive and started trading positive, what was it telling us? That they were heading for this level. And what told us that this was a good pattern? Well, we could see the J-hook pattern if it started trading positive. And what did our belt hold tell us? It told us they took out a lot of the sellers, so there's less sellers in the way, so any buying isn't going to run into any resistance. So again, this is just common sense. And notice where this belt hold closed. Just above the T-line. And what's our simple parameter of a trade? As long as it stays above the T-line, it's still in an uptrend. Okay, some of the oils. We'll get to some more of the oils. We can see what's happening here on ESV. Wave 1, J-hook pattern. Wave 3, you stay long until you see a sell signal. Let's see. We've been in CCXI. Notice where it broke out through the 50. Notice what type of signal it did today. Kind of your little trend kicker. What's that imply? There's more upside. I say, what does that imply? There's little observations that as long as you know what's going on in investor sentiment and you can visually see what type of signal it's forming, gives you that much more clarity, or that much more to say, well, if I see a trend kicker, I know what the results of a trend kicker is, that there's going to be more upside. So that trend kicker usually is going to produce a positive trade. So if you see something gap up above the previous day's open and start going positive, even though you're not at the bottom, but you're in a trend, you want to get in it because you know it's going to be a positive trade. CVRR, refining. You can see the fry pan bottom breakout. You can see what you needed to do based upon the T-line. All you had to do is stay long as you didn't see a sell signal and a close below the T-line. And what's our little warning going on right now? Well, they gapped it up. Another strong day. Look how far away you are from the T-line. So what should be the parameters from here? If it opens positive, especially if they gap it up, you want to get you use the 3T line. If they open positive and trade positive, and you're that far away from the T line, there you go, John. You flip to your 10-minute chart. If it opens lower, where do you put your safety stop? At today's open. If there's enough selling pressure in the overbought area that far away from the T line that they can bring it back down through this level, it's time to take profits. So now you get rid of that question or that indecision that most people have. I say most people because I always had it. Got a nice big profit. When do I take profits? And a lot of people can't figure that out. Well, with the mechanics of candlesticks, knowing what investor sentiment does, a big price move tomorrow, we look at our 10-minute chart. A lower open tomorrow, we have a safety stop. So at least now we know that we're going to get the majority of this trade somehow. Stop at open if it trades higher. If it opens positive, I'm going to see what it does from there. If it starts backing off, watch, it may take some profits. If it opens positive and backs off through the open, I might take off at least half the position. If it gaps up here and starts backing off, I might take off the full position immediately because that would tell me they are selling it off. So we know because the distance between the price and the T-line that we should be watching to see what movement. Now, if it moves, opens here and starts trading up, moving that much further away from the T-line, that's when you flip to your 10-minute chart and make sure your 10-minute chart. Let's see, I forget which ones I've done. Pink, just stay long. Notice how this one started a strong uptrend with your kicker signal. RXDA. Oh no. Oh, I forget what symbol that is. Or was that the right symbol? How come I'm not getting anything here? We'll go on to the next one. EGC was another oil stock. And I don't know why this does that. It was right here at the 200-day moving average, so you kind of had a bobble breakout. But I don't know why it doesn't come up on this chart. Is it coming up on the other charts? WAIR. Yeah, there's my 200. You can see how this slow curve broke out. Where do we expect this price move to go to? Probably somewhere in this trajectory. RKDA, that's, oh man, whose handwriting is this? RKDA, alright. Staying just above the T-line. Now, this one has to open positive. But why is this one so attractive? Because if it does get moving, there's a gap to fill right up here, right near the 50. That's a double. There's a big price move. So a lot of people say Oh, do I want to be trading a volatile stock? The charts will look just as good on a volatile stock as it would is a dull stock. Oh, did they announce a square? Well, the bid and ask left. They announced a sell. Yeah, that will probably affect it a little bit. But on the same, there was another one here. I'll have to find it. Oh, I think it was EVHC. I think they announced a buyback. So there's a J-hook pattern that's going to open positive tomorrow. Yes, Abdu, the Triple T was supposed to be scheduled early this month. Did Micron do a buyback? Oh, let's see. I have to go here because that's yeah, okay. Micron, that was the one. All right, Micron is doing a buyback, so that J-hook pattern is now much more effective. Oh, that was the next one I was going to look at. It was Micron. All right. And Reggie, notice the fry pan bottom breakout. What's the strategy here? You just stay long until you see a sell signal. Your safety stop is at today's open. And why do you put your safety stop at today's open? Because right now it's showing you're in the overbought condition. You want to pick a spot that tells you the bears have taken control. Mplex broke out nicely. You can stay long on this one. Macy's was one that you could see where the breakout was. You just stay long, again, until you see a sell signal. V-cell, there's a bunch of these where your trend is just steady, staying above the T-line. A bunch of them like SEN, you just stay long until as long as you stay above the T-line. Now IMMR, notice where it pulled back to, right smack dab to the T-line, and then came back up. So what do we need to see for this J-hook pattern potential? Obviously positive trading. We don't want to see it open and continue down, because that tells me there is, or it tells us that there isn't any strength in that trade. Helix, kind of the same scenario. Came back almost to the T-line. It needs to open positive and trade positive to stay long. And Riot, we went after this one because it had a nice breakout the other day, but it closed right back here. So there's two things that are going on. One, it closed back below the halfway point of the candle that told us that the bulls have taken control. And two, it's sitting right here on the T-line, which makes it very simple. There's only one thing that this can do tomorrow to stay in it. Has to open positive and trade positive. So this takes the decision making out of your decision making. Isn't that a redundancy? So we know what to do. We've got at least a game plan of what has to happen. If it opens lower, what's it telling us about our uptrend? It's gone. You want to be out of this trade and move your money onto something that's going to produce better prospects. Let's see, before we get to some new good ones, let's take Amazon. Still flat, not a tradable entity. However, look what it did today, if I can make this big enough. Friday, it opened here, closed here. Today, it gapped up above today's open and did a doji, and it's sitting right smack dab on the T-line. if it opens positive tomorrow, you can buy aggressively, because what do you got going? Number one, you got the T-line or the doji telling you it's opening positive, and two, you got a bullish flutter kicker in progress, which is your strongest, one of your strongest signals, and it's setting up for you. It's telling you as soon as this opens positive, you can be buying it, because the probabilities are a bullish flutter kicker is going to be taking place. Apple opened up higher, also did the potential of a bullish flutter kicker if it opens positive. And then what type of pattern would it be setting up? A J-hook pattern. So knowing what each signal setup is doing also gives you insight as to what the pattern setup is doing. Morningstar signal from Netflix. That's probably got good upside potential at this point. Anytime you see that flat trading area and then a Morningstar signal, it acts like a little mini scoop. PGNX, little Morningstar signal with a kicker type move. Kind of a little mini scoop. So obviously the scoop patterns are one of the signal patterns you can see on Kimco Realty. Kind of the scoop pattern. If this opens positive, what's it telling you? That this scoop is breaking out of this resistance level. You probably have the potential of a slingshot effect to the upside. Tesla was up good today. However, what direction is Tesla going at this point? You can't tell. So if you had been short and it gapped up and traded positive today, should have closed it out. And now at this point, now you have a different read on it. Yes, going sideways. So there's no sense trading this one because you don't know which way it's going from here based upon what the signals are telling you. Nugget did a little bullish engulfing signal. Gold, not doing much of anything at this point. Trying to think of some of the gold stocks. Yeah, they might be coming back a little bit. Labu telling us the biotechs are soggy. Left-right combo. So what do we expect happening here with it closing below the T-line with a left-right combo? Remember, if something breaks out, we want to get out of it. If we see if this was a fry pan bottom breakout, when do you close out the position? When you see a sell signal and a close below the T-line. What's the prospect here? They're going to come back to test the 50 to see if it's going to act as a support level. No, you're not really an inverted hammer because you're not at the bottom. If it had happened down here with stochastics in the oversold area, you know, they called that an inverted hammer. This just was a gap up and then weakness by the end of the day. The charts are not coming up on the screen as you talk. Is that happening for everybody? Okay. Charles, you may have to log off and log right back in. Might be your feed is coming in a little bit slow. And I'll try to talk slowly while you're doing that. NVIDIA, nothing. Except this is what you call your two dark crows. Notice on Friday it opened here, closed here. Today it gapped up right to the same level it opened on Friday, but it continued to sell off. That's a strong sell signal. That's your two dark crows, which would imply, again, that they're going to come down at least and test the 50-day moving average. Let's see. Oh, I did that earlier. That's the little scoop pattern. The J hooks are working very well. This is SSW, kind of your morning star type signal. Wouldn't be afraid to be buying this one, because if this is wave one, that means there's still a substantial upside for this one. Twitter, kind of the same scenario, a little J hook pattern setting up. Wow. Notice your left-right combo right off the T-line. Doji, what's your trading strategy on this one? This opens positive. You can be buying immediately because now you've got a Doji sandwich breakout. Telling you probably got more upside. Look at your scoop type pattern breaking out to the upside. John, I don't know why I did that. Yeah, make sure that, if you can't see anything, make sure that you're on screen sharing way up at the top of your screen. Sometimes it pops over the slides. OLIN. Now the reason, why won't that come up? I'm going to go on to the next one. CAL. Another J-hook pattern. Breakout. Doji sandwich breakout. Pull back right to the T-line. You can be buying this one. If wave one was approximately 8 points, look for it to go toward the $50 range. Is that a slow curve on WOW? No, that's more of a J-hook. A slow curve looks more like this, where you can see it's a very slow curve, and then they pop it big. This is more of a J-hook pattern. Oh, boy. I must be drunk when I write some of these. I forgot what I was doing. Oh, trying to figure out what this symbol is. Not found. For crying out loud. All right. There's kind of your fry pan bottom, your cup and handle. Notice a little, now, so this is where you get your hint that they might be buying. Look at what they did today, a little kicker type signal. So if they came up through the 50 and they supported the 50, where's your next logical target? Up here. That was it. Where was it? CLSD. Yeah, but it's a good chart. J-hook type pattern. Was it QISN? Now I can't figure it out. It's baffling. So there's your fry pan bottom on HIIQ. And you can see where the dimple is. You got pretty much where it started. And now you've broken out through the 50. You can be buying this one. The probabilities tell you that's where the that's right. Don't drink any more. Just don't drink any less. Yep. Let's see. We did EVHC. Can't remember, but here's a perfect setup that if they open this one positive, what do you got going for you? That bullish flutter kicker, breakout, telling you wave 3 is in progress. There's another breakout. That's more what I would consider a slow curve. Fry pan bottom, breakout, telling you there's probably more upside. The oils, as we saw, oil is acting well. For crying out loud. This is EGN. Whiting. Whiting, I stuck in some of the accounts because look what happened at the kicker signal. It's one that you don't try to trade, or you don't need to try to trade, because this is what you call one of those steady eddies, that once you have it in your portfolio, you don't really have to pay too much attention to it until something drastic happens. Like a big move up here, I tell you that's the exuberance coming in. That's when you start looking for a reversal signal. CRZO, same scenario. Ever since the bobble breakout, we've never had a problem. I unfortunately covered calls right here because I thought, big doji. That's telling me I should probably get rid of the calls, held on to the stock. But here's the old lesson of do what I say, not as I do. I could have at least just sold half of them and then see whether they were opening it lower the next day versus seeing a breakout. So if I had sold half my calls here, I would have felt, all right, I just sold when it was time to sell, and I'm still making money on those calls. Whereas when I sold the whole position, I look back and say, what the heck were you thinking? That's true too. You can put whatever strategies you want based upon the steady eddy. I'm trying to think of which other ones are steady eddies. CRC, same scenario. Look at your bobble breakout. Just stay long. So this is why when you start seeing a sector, and we saw that sector start acting well a while ago, that if you have 2 or 3 positions out of your 10 positions that are in the oils, that means your return are going to be fairly strong in that one sector until it's time to come out of that sector. Our SRCI, same scenario. It's never closed below the T line. So you can see the percent profitability, and still up 20% versus %. What essentially it all comes back to one simple analysis. You're putting your money in situations where the probabilities are in your favor based upon what is positive. What do you got going? Wave 1, wave 2, going into wave 3. AYX, nothing wildly exciting about this chart except for the fact that it was heading in this direction, and today they gapped it up and did a doji. If it opens positive, you got to get through this level, but if they open this positive and do a bullish flutter kicker right off the bottoms here, at least you got the potential of getting through that level and coming back up to test the highs, which would give you a decent percentage return. A trend kicker is a kicker signal that is occurring in a trend. Oh boy, can anybody remember which ones I had as a trend kicker? I'll try to find one for us. Crocs, nice J-hook pattern. Where did it start coming back up? Right off the 50-day moving average. SAIA. Another J-hook pattern. And what's the relevance of this J-hook pattern? Right here at the breakout level. And what's this? If it opens positive, where do you think it's going? Oh, hold on for one. Okay, sorry about that. Oh, okay, CCXI. Yeah, here's kind of your trend kicker. Notice how it opened here. You're already in the trend, and you opened here and closed here, and then opened at the previous day's open and went the opposite direction, so it's a kicker signal. But it's in the trend, which implies there's going to be more upside. A true kicker signal is it starts the trend. And that was the case down here in Whiting, where they opened here and closed here. The next day they gapped it up above the previous day's open and went the opposite direction. That's your true kicker signal. Let's see, GDS. J-hook type pattern. Here's your classic fry pan bottom J-hook. Why do we call this the classic? Because what do we expect coming out of a fry pan bottom? A strong price move. What's the prerequisite for a J-hook pattern? A strong price move. So if you see a fry pan bottom, you take profits, and then get ready for the J-hook pattern, which tells you the uptrend will continue. GDS, we did the scoop. CSIQ. This is I had something here. You're right at the breakout level. Oh, this is what you call the double doji setup. You see a big move, kind of an indecisive day, a doji day. If it opens positive the next day, that tells you this consolidation, which was not very convincing, is over. Get ready to buy, because that tells you your uptrend's still in progress. Let's see. Hold on for one more. Okay, sorry about that. That call is coming in that you can get rid of. So this is the double doji setup. This is a very common setup where they pull back indecisively and then a positive open the next after that second doji tells you there's probably going to be more upside. We got some breakout situations. Notice how they gapped up through kind of this resistance level. This is HIMX. That's also an implication there's going to be more upside. When they gap up through resistance, that tells you they know the resistance is there. Kind of the same scenario right here on Boeing. You can see the left-right combo right off the T-line. Kind of a breakout through this level. Now the gap up. That would imply coming out of this big fry pan bottom, they're still going to take this one higher. More than likely, probably up into the trajectory of the trend prior to the fry pan bottom. In KBR, there's kind of your trend kicker. Notice how they opened here and closed here, and then they gapped up above yesterday's open. What is today? Monday. Friday's open, and went the opposite direction. Now they're right smack dab on the 200, but the implication is there's enough strength because of that trend kicker to take you through. If they take you through, that means there's more upside. Let's see. One on the short side. There's bearish Harami, right smack dab on the 50. You're in a downtrend. Where's your next likely target? Probably at least back down here. So if you want to find something to short, if this one opens lower tomorrow, you can short it. Oh, the upside on Boeing, I have no idea. Let me take a gander here. And pop. I would suspect that you're at least one of you probably heading up into this area, because that was the trend prior to this fry pan. Okay, so today was a good day in the sense that this little doji gap up, best friend, J-hook pattern setup is a good implication that wave 1, wave 2, wave 3 could bring you back up into this area, which the magnitude of the move is probably less relevant than the direction of the move, because that allows you to get into positions that that as long as the market's not selling off dramatically, have the potential of more upside, and you can look at see where the breakouts are. Okay, so that's about all I got tonight. Are there any general questions? Are you concerned about the gap up in the overbought area? On which one, DA? On the Dow? No. The Dow is not in. It's not. This isn't a gap up at the top. This is a gap up forming a pattern. Let me see. This would have been more of a gap up over here at the top. This is setting up a J-hook pattern. Will these gap fill on the indexes? Eventually. But remember, we're not worried about this gap right now because we're looking at the pattern for the next setup. This gap may be filled 2 weeks from now, 2 months from now, 2 years from now. We're more interested in what is it doing at this point. Okay, if that's it, Jim, go ahead and do the double line. And in 3.8 seconds, do the next double line. Dean Foods. That's a good short. Notice how they did a kicker type signal, gapping down from the 200. They tried to bring it back up to the 200. Now you've got to close below the T line. So that gives me a good lead in. Just let everybody know to mark your calendars if you're interested in the private training sessions at Keuka Lake this year. It's scheduled, the first one is scheduled for August 4th through August 7th. The reason I mentioned that was not, whether it was 2 or 3 years ago, why we were trading or why we were training, Dean Foods was one of our buy recommendations. It had gone from 12 to 17, and we got a sell signal. This was before the training, and we closed it out at 17, had a good profit, and then it had moved all the way back down to the 12 area during our training sessions. And then there was a bullish engulfing signal, so we went in and started buying again, and a lot of people that were at the training, a lot of people, there was only 5 there, bought the stock. The next morning they announced something, and it gapped right up to 17 again. So everybody that was there basically paid for their trading just on that one trade. But I don't like to promote trades like that, saying, oh, you can pay for your training by one trade. What we're trying to teach people is how you identify which signals and patterns are going to give you the high probability, high profit setups. Here's another one that I'd get ready to go short. Smegmo, because of the failure right here at the 200, you can see the trend. So obviously every time it comes up and hits a resistance level, they start selling it off again. So you can short both of those. Tile stores, slow curve, you get ready to buy this one on positive trading. If I was going to buy this one, you put your buy stop just above today's high. If it comes up through there, it's likely breaking out. CVS, nothing of any great consequence there. That's pretty much sideways. I'd probably be someplace else, Bob. Cliffs, another one that with it closing below the T-line, it doesn't have a reversal signal, but it closed below the T-line on good, hefty trading. I would have closed it out with the idea that I could always buy it back if it came back up through that level. We did our SRCI. You stay long, but you're in the overbought condition. You're starting to move away from the T-line. Your safety stop should probably be at today's open. You don't want to see it come back down through that level. And Northrop, you can stay long on this one. Your first target, obviously, is the 50-day moving average. Delta. Delta, you can be buying this one. You can see your little double doji. You can see your bobble breakout. Just be aware that there's your first resistance. So you watch to see what it does at that level. Okay, we did Tile Store, EXAS, J-hooks. Yes, not so much a J-hook as kind of a wedge formation. So I'd be more apt to buy this one. Probably coming through here. Oh, this is not working well. Yeah, if it breaks out through this level, you can be a buyer. And XPO. That one's a J-hook. The qualification for a J-hook is you want to see a very strong price movement. Notice what started the XPO reversal. A big, huge bullish engulfing signal. Where was the first target if it broke through the 50? Up to the top of this trend channel, which is right about where you are. Now, you can buy this on positive trading with the expectation that positive trading breaking you out through this level is going to put you in wave 3, which means this resistance level is probably irrelevant. That's like, was it Groucho? No, was it Chico that said in the courtroom, what's big and gray and has a trunk and tusks? And Groucho says, that's irrelevant. And Chico said, yep, you're right. IBKC. You can stay long on this one, especially after they wiped out a lot of sellers today. I would suspect you're coming back up to test this level. And KL, the gold, one of the gold stocks, you stay long on this. Now your next prospect is breaking through this level. Again, there's your belt hold signal. That belt hold signal kind of wipes out a lot of the sellers. GE, if you like it, you can stay long. You're just not going to make a lot of money, and it's not going to be a resilient mover. Home Depot, same scenario. It's in a nice steady uptrend. Hold on, this might be somebody. Okay, I don't know how they got my number on the accounting side. Bidu, you stay short. There's your best friend, bearish. So you got two things to watch for. One, see what it does here. And then two, see if it comes down here. IQ. Apparently a new offering. Did I do that right? Looks like it. It needs to stay above the T-line to stay in it. If it closes below the T-line, it's probably now in a trend channel that's going to bring you back down a little bit. ASML. There's your trend kicker setting up. Meaning, sorry, not your trend kicker, your bullish flutter kicker. If it opens positive, you want to be buying immediately. The Russell at an all-time, is at an all-time high right now. You stay long. Got a kind of a little J-hook pattern, which means wave 1, wave 3 should bring you up into about this range. And BDX, that's a good chart. You can see how you did a little bullish engulfing right here off the 50. Now you gapped up through the T-line. First target should be right up in here. Yeah, Boeing we did. That's a good breakout. CLDS. That's not working. CLDS. CLSD. Just stay long as it stays above the T-line. MMS. Oh, this one you have to make sure it gets through the T-line. Now you do have a little bit of a bullish doji sandwich. It needs to get through the T-line. You probably be coming back up to this area. Percentage-wise, it's not going to make you a whole lot of money, but it definitely has to get up through that area. I don't think this one is going to get anything. No, that one won't come up over here. Neighbors has to stay above the T-line, which means it needs to open positive tomorrow. ORBC, stay long. Nice little kind of a J-hook pattern. I would suspect your next target is up here at the 200. NVIDIA, if you're thinking of going short, you can short this on weakness with the expectation that your first target is down here at the whatever that moving average was. You could have resistance up here, but that's where you watch to see what happens once you get right to that level. And Galt, just stay long. Yeah, just nothing you can do here. Just stay long. ARRY came back to where you would suspect it would, right to the 50, which means it has to open positive and trade positive. If it opens lower, close out the position, and if it trades too much lower, it now becomes a potential short. ABBV. Stay long. When you're up here in the overbought area, you had it sell off. I'd have a protective sell stop at the open of Friday. If it comes down through there, it's coming back to test the T-line. We did Cliff, Meat. Another one that pulled back to the T-line. It needs to open positive, but as long as it stays above the T-line, you're all right. NS, nice fry pan bottom. Make sure your volume is good, but that looks like a nice fry pan bottom. You stay with this one. Rama, I'm guessing this is ITRI. If you were short, you would have covered your short with the expectation you're going to see at least a bounce back up to the T-line. I wouldn't be a buyer. I would have just covered the short until you see it close above the T-line. And HZN, that one is not coming up. TEO, another one that if I'd been short, I would have covered the short, but I wouldn't be long. Not until you see a convincing close above the T-line. Farm, just stay long. Now that's a convincing Morningstar signal. The bigger this signal is, the more compelling there's been a change of investor sentiment. Stay long on this one. ZTS, left-right combo, little gap up through this level. Now you're watching to see what it does at this level. Another one, you stay long. Caesars, has to open positive. Again, notice how the T-line's acting as a support level. Definitely want to see this open positive. If I was going to be a buyer, if it came back up through these tops, that would tell me my J-hook pattern is in progress. Generally, when a daily candle breaks above the T-line, would you say it is good to go long? That us buy? No. I would rather see it close above the T-line and then buying confirmation. Look at your little bobble pattern here. So just because it came up through the T-line, I wouldn't be a buyer. Or if I did, and it came up and then came back down through that level, you close it right back out. It needs to close above the T-line. And this is another case where I'd rather be a little bit behind schedule with bullish confirmation than try to be a little bit early. Remember, we're not buying to make 3, 10, 12, 15, 80 cents. We're buying to make $3, $5, $7 on the next price move. Boeing looks interesting, especially if it breaks. Yes, yeah, I would suspect Boeing could go to possibly 400. Fossil, stay long. 45 degree in progress. Put a safety stop probably at the low of Friday. If it comes down through there, it's confirming the selling after today's shooting star signal. DGSE, that's one is not coming up. CMT. Oh, this one. This is why you want to see confirmation above. So if it closed above the T-line, I'd want to see bullish confirmation. That allows me that if it comes back down and closes below the T-line, I'm right back out of the trade. But observe the obvious. Which direction is this one going? Down. So unless you see something very compelling that's keeping you up above the T-line, I'd probably be someplace else. Rick, NVIDIA's intraday charts right now mean absolutely nothing. Because what does a candlestick chart illustrate? The investor sentiment going on right at that time. Now remember, when they open this stock tomorrow, 10 hours away, the investor sentiment could be completely different. So, as soon as you see a close at the end of the day, that means everything that you have on your chart as far as intraday disappears. It's what the daily chart ends up as. GE, it could be, but again, your rate of return on GE is just going to be so small. Again, not because of the chart itself, but it's an institutional trader. Cat buyers, that's right. And sell the darn cat. That I would be someplace else. If I'm going to spend my time and energy looking for a position, it wouldn't be GE because you're going to sit here and pretty much watch paint dry. Micron up, up $2. Yes, that's because of the buyback. That could be true. Yep. Rick, run, setting up for a J-hook. Too late to buy ORBC? No. It's just starting. So you want to be buying this if it breaks out through this level, making your 200 the next target. MPlex, we did. It's broke out nicely. Just stay long until you see a sell signal. Tandem. There's your dark cloud. If it opens lower, you take profits because it's more than likely coming back to test the T-line. So to stay long, you need to see it open positive and trade positive. Now, if it opens positive and trades positive, you still put your stop then at today's open, because logic says if they open it positive and then reverse it and come down through this level, the bears are still in control. Let me see why this is not. I don't know why that's not coming up. Huh. Jay, yeah, I have no earthly idea? Let's take a gander over here real quick. Yeah, horizon. You can be buying. That's a good looking little chart. There's your first target is filling this gap. Second target is the 50-day moving average. Yeah, you can buy the options. That would probably be the way to play GEs, trading the options. They're probably not going to have any great premium built into it because they doesn't move very much. Humbug. VTVT. Nothing. No direction. Yeah, I don't know why it's not coming up here. It may come up tomorrow morning, so it's all kind of that. That function. All right. What we'd like to see is a positive open tomorrow. That would put more evidence that our J-hook pattern is working on the markets. Oh, I should have marked down which ones I thought were the best ones. There's some fry pan bottom breakouts. There's a bobble breakout. I'll have some good ones tonight. All right, everybody. That's right. Everybody have a good evening. We'll see you bright and early in the chat rooms tomorrow. We'll see you then.